Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Today you're going to learn about self love. This is something your parents should have taught you, but didn't, probably because their parents didn't teach them either. But as your internet big sister, I am going to give you the 3 step ultimate guide to self love. And that's not even all. I'm going to give you the psychology behind each step so that you understand why you are doing what you're doing. The reason being, if you have a brain like mine, you hate being told what to do without knowing why you have to do it. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. The first and immediate thing you're going to do is to stop all negative self talk. I don't need you to try. I don't need you to dip your toe into it. I need you to be fully committed to it. And I do understand that it can be hard if your whole life you've told yourself something and now you have to change the narrative. But the reason behind being careful of what you say about yourself is that your brain and your subconscious doesn't understand when you are being serious or not. So whatever you say, whether jokingly or not, is taken pretty seriously by your subconscious. And what tends to happen is the more you say these things, the more it cements your identity. And in the same breath, you need to replace the negative self talk with positive ones. I know whenever you hear the word self love, positive affirmations is lurking somewhere near. The reason why this word comes up so often whenever we talk about self love is because it works. The same way your mind doesn't know whether you are serious about that negative thing you said about yourself, is the same way your mind doesn't know if the thing you said positively about yourself is true or not. But either way, what you say about yourself cements your identity. So wouldn't you rather it be positive? And off topic, I always tell parents to be careful about what they tell their children when they are little because whether you like it or not, what you tell your children end up becoming their inner voice as they grow. So if you really think about it, all these negative things you've been thinking about yourself and telling yourself aren't even your own opinions. They are the opinions of your guardians as a child and the people you've met on the way up until this point. But again, the thing is, this is not the opinion you have of yourself. You are just adopting other people's opinions of you. And this ties perfectly into the next step of this whole program, which is to get to know yourself. Getting to know yourself is going to be the biggest and the greatest gift you ever give yourself. You're going to learn how to shed the opinions and the things that have made you you at this moment, like the way a snake sheds its skin. Because you need to know who you are, raw and unfiltered, without looking at it from the lens of society or your parents or anyone in your life at all. In a recent video I made, I talked about how you have to spend quality time with yourself the way you would a partner, and also to do inner work, which is either therapy or shadow work. I'll put the video in the description so you can go watch it and get more details on this topic. The thing with getting to know yourself is it opens you up in a way that makes you realize the things you actually need instead of what society tells you you need. Because when you get to know the things you need in life, you realize the boundaries you have to set and the things you have to do in order to get ahead. Getting to know yourself means you discover your strengths and your flaws and you plate them accordingly. Whatever you need to do to improve, you do them and you hone in on your strengths as much as you can. And that is a gift you're not going to get anywhere else unless you actually are intentional about getting to know yourself. For example, when I was growing up, I didn't have my dad in my life. It wasn't that he was dead or anything. He just chose to not be in his family's life because I don't know his reasons. But I internalized that experience as me not being enough for him to stick around. And I went into every decision I made up until a few years ago thinking that I wasn't good enough for certain things. So I'll literally sabotage myself. And one of the things that is a clear sabotage on my part is waiting for more than a decade to actually post my first YouTube video. Although I knew the first time I watched a YouTube video that this is what I wanted to do with my life. This is what I actually was born to do. But it took me more than a decade to actually post my first video. So when I come on here and tell you to do the work, do the inner work, I am saying it as someone who has actually experienced it, who has actually been where you are now, who has actually seen the dark side, if you will. But Alhamdulillah, I'm here and I am able to use my experiences to tell you that it does get better at the other side. It does get better with time. Trust me on this. And I would be a bad Muslim if I didn't tell you this one thing. You cannot fully know yourself without having a relationship with Allah. It doesn't work that way. There's always going to be something missing if you ignore your relationship with Allah and think that you're going to fully know yourself in your raw, unfiltered state. You won't. You will not get there without the help of Allah. So build a strong relationship with Allah. And while on the topic of getting to know yourself, I'm going to say this. It's not always going to be bright. It's not always going to be peachy, right? But hang in there. And you have to realize one step in the right direction is better than 1,000 steps in the wrong direction. And with that, I'm going to get into my next and final step of this program, which is being intentional about loving your life. Being intentional about loving your life doesn't mean always doing the things that feels good in the moment. It can also mean doing things for your future self. In fact, most of it is about doing things that makes your life easier in the long run instead of easier in just the moment. And I'll even go the extra mile to say discipline is the best form of self-love. And I know that a lot of us have adverse reaction to the word discipline. And that's because maybe growing up, we had a lot of these self help gurus from the 2000s shoving down these unrealistic practices down our throats, which is making it now difficult for us to even comprehend the word discipline. But I get it. So I'm going to give you the simplest explanation for the word discipline, which is showing up when you say you're going to show up. When you show up for yourself, you actually build trust with yourself, which in turn makes you very confident in your own abilities. As I said, I know discipline is hard. I know sometimes you don't feel like doing the thing. But apart from discipline building your confidence, it also shows that you respect yourself. It also shows you are somebody you take seriously. And when you finally get to that headspace where you actually show up for yourself, it becomes difficult for you to actually allow people in your life that don't show up for you. And one thing you need to understand is once you start to show up for yourself the way you need to, it even changes the way you interact with Allah. I can promise you the way I make dua now is so much different from the way I did before. At first, I was literally negotiating with Allah on things that I wanted. Like, Allah, I know I'm asking for too much, but if you would give me it was like, what was I doing then? And now I am absolutely delusional with my du'as because Allah is the best of planners. Allah is the best provider. Allah is everything. He is the greatest. And He made everything. And He made me. And I don't, I literally cringe when I remember the types of duas I used to make. This self love journey you are about to start is going to change every aspect of your life. It will change the people you allow in your life, it will change the relationships you have with the people who are currently in your life. And I hope and pray that you got all the information you need in this video in order to start your self-love journey and actually make it to the other side, because I promise you this is going to be the best thing you ever do for yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.